Controversial topic that transcends all of sports as Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh spoke out against his former quarterback Colin Kaepernick, who refused to stand during the national anthem before a preseason game Friday as a form of social protest. Take a listen to what Harbaugh had to say.
I acknowledge his right to do that, but I don't respect the motivation or the action.
Now, Harbaugh later apologized, saying, "I support Colin's motivation. It's his method of action that I take exception to." So, David, do you agree with Kaepernick's right to protest?
Well, we all have the right to say what we want, and that's what makes America great, and that's what makes Twitter fun and Facebook fun, is athletes get to get their message out there when they want to talk out against social stuff that they think is important to them. I just don't support it at that time against the American flag. You think about the national anthem, it doesn't get played very often anymore at all, really just at sporting events. And I just think that you chose the wrong venue to do that. If you wanted to speak out and pledge, it could have been against something, not against the United States, the American flag, and all that it stands for and all that we have in this country because of that.
I agree with David. I think it's totally disrespectful to sit, and I think others have said it, and others will continue to say that for the people, for the men and women that have given their lives for this country. Having said that, I think Colin has every right to do whatever he wants. That's what makes America the country that it is. Disrespectful, yes, but well within his rights.
There has to be a platform to create conversation. And I don't know that Colin Kaepernick could have done a better job of creating conversation to deal with some of the issues that are going on. Now, it is very easy to say, I disagree with doing it at that time, but I don't know that there is a better time that would then catch the eye of the entire America and say, look, there's something that we need to talk about here, not just focused on the fact that he's sad, but more conversation about the reason why he did it. That is his right
Joey,
to do it.
Let me ask
it's
you,
his right to do it at that time.
I'm really curious, though, and he did it, but I'm not sure what this conversation is really all about. I mean, we have this dialogue in our country continuously, and I thought LeBron and others at the ESPYs made a very strong statement, but this, to me, looks a little bit like an outlier. I mean, these are issues that politicians, that elected officials, the public like us talk about every single day. There are serious problems in this country, but ultimately, what's helped? What is the end result of what Colin did the other night?
Well, we will find that out, but you don't get to choose or decide how someone else protests. I mean, if that's the case, then nobody would have a protest, because then somebody would just design it for them. So,
but usually people protest when they've been oppressed, when they've been offended, when they have a legitimate stake in the action. I don't know where Colin is coming from. I mean, what's his beef with society, other than he's upset about the way people are, in his mind, are being oppressed in this country?
But what we're doing now,
what do you mean, what else? As if that's nothing.
Well, you also say, Paul.
Well, no, it's obviously very important, but why him?
You also say, Paul, what did he get accomplished? We're talking about it. And that's the point.
Okay.
I mean, that's the point of the protest.
We would be talking about something anyway.
Why do you say? But why do you say outlandish things sometimes? Because people talk about it. That's what this country is. You draw attention to things when you.
Well, no, David, I don't think this country is built and based on just people doing outlandish things. So the Twitterverse reacts. I think when you have a strong statement to make, when you feel oppressed, when you're trying to help enact change. I don't understand where Colin is coming from in terms of this specific issue. He's upset about the way minorities are being dealt with. His word, oppressed. He's talking about police brutality. Sitting down during the national anthem, I don't think is the connector to those issues.
How you feel about that doesn't actually, that's the thing, is you're taking your feelings and put it on his situation. If that's the way he feels, then he has the absolute right to feel that way. So you've never had to, Paul. And that's the thing, is someone of your color
Joey, I've never had to do what?
Because we're talking about a completely different situation. You said you've never had to do something like that. You're absolutely right.
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying, if you're going to do it, have a legitimate reason to do it. I mean, the Missouri players last year felt like they had been violated. They made a statement.
Have a legitimate reason?
I'm waiting for an explanation here, but I'll keep waiting. I got all day.
Are you saying that Colin Kaepernick does not have a legitimate reason to feel the way he does?
Explain to me what his reason is, other than what he has already said.
He has explained what his reason is. And that's the thing. You don't get to decide for him what is legitimate or
Joey,
not.
I promise you, my friend, I'm not trying.
And a lot of people have felt the same way. So if he chooses to protest in his way, just like David said, that is his right. It is not our right, whether it's you or me or David,
but I have the right, and you have the right, and David have the right to either agree or disagree respectfully. And I have. I've already said. Don't try to paint me in a corner where I haven't given him the right to speak. I have. He's entitled to it. He has that right under the First Amendment.
David, relating this back to the college game, do you see this having an impact on college players like we saw at Mizzou last year? What kind of repercussions do you see from this, looking at college kids?
Well, I think one thing that we know is there's not a lot of people that have original thoughts. You know, a lot of people don't know what they can do to protest to make a scene. And now you've seen that Colin Kaepernick, what he did brought a lot of attention. So I think maybe you're starting to see things like that. But we've seen stuff in the past where people try to make a statement and come out. I mean, look at Northwestern a couple years ago. We saw the fighting against the NCAA, and we're going to see this stuff regardless. It's not just going to be because of Colin Kaepernick and his stance and what he did a couple weeks ago.
Paul, what should a coach's level of involvement be in situations
you know,
like this?
I think there are going to be issues like this, and I was behind what the Missouri players did last year. I thought they had a legitimate gripe. They were standing up for one of their own. They at least had a purpose, and Coach Gary Pinkel supported them. And I think those who tried to stand in the way ended up losing their job, like the president and chancellor and others. I think you're going to see a trickle-down effect. I think, and I'm all for it. I think young people have every right to stand up for what they believe in. I think they should pick their battles carefully, so it's just not someone screaming just to scream. But I think America's youth are very active, and I encourage them to speak out. But be careful on the issues. Make sure they can resonate as opposed to just screaming fire for the sake of screaming fire.
Joey, you're passionate about this. What do you want to see?
Well, I think, again, you get into that place where you feel as if you're deciding for other people when is the right time, how they should do it, and then how you feel about the reaction they had, as in, okay, I agree with this one, but I disagree with that one. The key is we're in a country where you have the right to protest in your own way. And if that's the way you feel about what you're doing, then you have the right to do that. And whether or not I agree or think that your issue is right or the way you handle your issue is right, I don't understand why that becomes important, as opposed to let's look at the reason why the protest is going on and say, is that something that we should be discussing? And I do believe that what he's talking about is something that needs to be discussed.
Sports now being used for social change. We'll see the trickle-down effect in the college game this season. And coming up, Nick Saban says the QB battle is down to 2 at Bama, but doesn't matter. We'll debate next.